Hey y'all, thanks for stopping in. So I've been following this story out of Kansas City about the three Chiefs fans that froze to death in the backyard of another friend's house that somehow didn't know they were back there for 3 days. It keeps getting more and more interesting as little tidbits of information that you didn't know before are being dropped. And now it's popping up in the New York Post and the Daily Mail. What I'm going to do is read a couple stories. If they overlap, I'll edit one of them out. And I want to watch at least one interview that I know of with the lawyer. But there's been a couple other interviews that have come out over the last week. And if I can find them, I'm going to go ahead and play them for you as well. So stick around for that. And first, I'm going to start off with this one from the New York Post. 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans found frozen outside home a friend who had no knowledge of deaths. So, a Kansas City, Missouri homeowner whose 3 friends' frozen bodies were found in his backyard 2 days after they gathered to watch a Kansas City Chiefs game had no knowledge of the tragedy unfolding in his own backyard earlier this month, and that's according to his attorney. The Kansas City Police Department told Fox News Digital that they do not suspect foul play. That's interesting. I don't know why they wouldn't suspect that, considering 3 people don't just die at the same place for no reason. So you'd think there'd be at least a curiosity in finding out what that could have been. And it very simply could be explained by a potential, overdose or of sharing or whatever, you know what I mean? Trying to keep YouTube happy with the way I said that, but I think you understand what I'm talking about. But friends and family members of the 3 men say they had all gathered together at a friend's house to watch the Chiefs game against the Chargers on the night of January 7th. The Kansas City Police Department announced that the men's bodies were discovered at January 9th after one man's fiancée requested a welfare check. One man's body was found on the back porch of the home, while the other 2 were found in the backyard. The men apparently had simply just frozen to death. At least that's the story they're giving us. First and foremost, the case is 100% not being investigated as a homicide, Captain Jake said of the Kansas City Police Department. There has not been any arrest or charges, and no one is in custody. There are no specific threats or concern for the surrounding community at this time. The resident at the house was cooperative with detectives the day the deceased were discovered. It was unclear whether alcohol or drugs were involved in the man's deaths. He said a toxicology report should be available within the coming days. Family and friends of the 3 football fans have taken to social media clamoring for answers and questioning the motives of the homeowner, who Fox News Digital has chosen not to name because no criminal charges have been filed. Allegedly, they claim they sent numerous messages to the homeowner in the days before the police were called. The man was inside his home alive when my friends were dead in his yard for Lord knows how long, a person wrote in their Facebook post earlier this month. They're all hanging out since after the game Sunday. He knew people were looking for them. He read messages of people searching for him on Tuesday. My husband banged on the door for 20 minutes, she continued. My friend banged on his door, then busted a window and yelled and announced her presence while she's inside, and still nothing from him. Then the cops come 10 minutes later, and he comes out nonchalant in his boxers with an empty glass of wine in his hand. Nothing is adding up. These 3 men deserve justice. John Picerno, an attorney representing the homeowner, said his client had no idea his friends were gone until the police knocked on his door. He had no knowledge that they remained in his backyard or that they needed medical attention, the attorney claims. His client did not hear 2 people that came looking for the men at his house. He was allegedly sleeping with headphones and a loud fan. Although the attorney acknowledged that one of the men's wives contacted his client on Facebook Messenger, he said the homeowner did not see the message until after the police made contact. Although 2 of his friends' cars were parked on the street outside his house, Picerno said would not be unusual for his friends to have left their cars there overnight. The homeowner is aware of how his friends died, Picerno told Kansas City Star. Like the rest of us, the homeowner is anxiously awaiting the results of the autopsy and toxicology report. On behalf of his family, we wish to express our deepest sympathies to the families and family members of these young men, and our thoughts and prayers are with them. So that's just a little bit of what the attorney actually had to say. He went on a couple interviews and answered quite a few questions. I'm going to go ahead and play this interview coming up. And so there's more to the story. Let's go over here and read this one from Daily Mail. I haven't read it yet, so if they don't add anything with this one, I'll just delete it out, and you'll never know that I said this. But we'll just see what it says, because from my experience, the more interviews that I've seen, it seems like they kind of add another piece to the puzzle as far as what was actually going on there. So I'm trying to give you the same experience. Friend of the three Chiefs fan who froze to death in his backyard claimed he had no idea until cops showed up to his door 2 days after the party, but furious family claims he was unreachable during search and now has moved out. So, okay, we already know a little bit more. He's moved out. The Kansas City Chiefs fan whose 3 friends died in his backyard after attending a watch party on January 7th has broken his silence to insist he had no idea they were lying dead on his property for 2 days until the police showed up to look for them. He claims he went to bed, leaving the 3 men downstairs to hang out with an unidentified 5th man. Okay, so there's 2 new details already from this story. There's a 5th man involved, apparently, and the homeowner has moved out. So he knew nothing of their plight until the fiancé of one of the men broke into the home on January 9th and found him on the back porch. And that's something I think they skipped in the last story too, was that the woman that broke it through the window and then the cops came 10 minutes later, was the reason why the cops came was because she found one of the bodies on the back porch and then called the police. And then that's when the guy came down, was after the police got there. He pretty much had no choice at that point, right? So the police were called and soon discovered the 2 other bodies in the backyard. Willis opened the door to the cops in his underwear, holding an empty glass of wine. The medical examiner is yet to confirm how the victims died. Willis, who says he was a close friend of the victims, says they froze to death. So the idea that 3 able-bodied men all froze to death at the same time when their cars were parked in the street around the front of the house, even if they were locked out of the house, could still, for some reason, and I don't even know if they were locked out of the house, but say they were locked in the backyard, you can still go to the gate and get to your car and leave, or at least knock on a neighbor's house if you're really that cold. Something, you know what I mean? But the idea that 3 guys just sat back there until this happens to them, really hard to just accept. So continuing, the families of the 3 victims say the story doesn't add up and are demanding answers. Police are also yet to confirm the homeowner's claim that there was a 5th man in the house on the night of question. Here's the first pictures of the backyard that I've actually seen. Okay, so I'm assuming that nothing's really been moved. They did say that the homeowner's moved out, but so you might have had a little bit of patio furniture back here, but it doesn't look like there's a fire pit where they had been standing around a fire and hanging out. It looks like over here on the far side, there is a wide open gate. And it looks like there's actually a gate right here, by the way that 2x4 is shaped. I would guess that that's holding the gate, or holding the door from sagging. And that might even be a hinge right there. So it looks like there's potentially gates on both sides and plenty of windows that they could have broken into, I'm assuming. And then moving upstairs, I would assume that the homeowner's master bedroom would probably be on the back side of the house, so maybe one of these 2 windows or both of those windows. And then if his bedroom's on the front of the house, man, it makes his story a little even more fishy that he slept through everything besides and up to the police showing up, in my opinion. Oh, it does look like there's maybe some thicker brush back here, but none of his friends, none of the families, none of us believe it. Everybody is furious. Something is not right, she added. They're demanding answers from the police, who are quick to dismiss the case as an accident. In the meantime, he's moved out of the home. Initially, his attorney claimed he last saw the men leave the house when they went to bed. Now, his lawyer says he never saw them leave and instead let them hang out with the unidentified 5th man when he went to bed. Okay, so 2 of the men had parked their cars on the street, but Willis didn't notice the vehicles because he claims he didn't leave the house on January 8th. None of the family members of the 3 men had contacted him before the police showed up at his house, he claims, but family of the deceased contests this. The attorney said that 2 people came to Willis's home, but he didn't hear them because he sleeps with headphones and a loud fan. He did say that one of the deceased wives contacted him on Facebook Messenger. Okay, so we've got that earlier. The attorney says the homeowner had nothing to do with their deaths, nor does he know how or when they exited his house. In his first set of comments, he said the last time he saw the men was when they left the house. Captain Jake of the Kansas City Police Department said, first and foremost, this case is 100% not being investigated as a homicide, which I think is curious as well. I don't know why they would just immediately announce that, tell a person that they might be scared. I mean, I won't speculate. And then let's go over here and watch this interview with the attorney.
First and foremost, your client, Jordan Willis, is he free and clear tonight, or is he still facing some kind of potential criminal exposure?
There was never any criminal charges. There is no case. The police have stated that this is not a homicide investigation, and they do not suspect foul play.
So he could do an interview. You'd be fine with him doing a TV interview because you now feel confident he has no concerns ahead of him.
He could do an interview if he chose to. As I advised him, as I advise all my clients, that he shouldn't say anything at this time until the investigation has been concluded.
As I'm sure you are, and potentially even. Do you know from speaking to your client, were there drugs involved with the party, the football watching party that night?
There are some things that I'm not going to be allowed to comment on based on confidentiality reasons. There were, in addition to the three gentlemen that are deceased, in addition to Jordan, there was one other individual that was present in the home. And I'm not going to comment on anything about the activities that were going on there other than the fact that they were there and they were socializing after the Chiefs game.
It's interesting, though, that you would bring up that there was another person there other than the three who died, the owner of the home, and then this mystery man after the question I asked about drugs. Is there a reason for that?
No, just in fact, I learned a little bit more about this other individual today. And I also, it's my understanding that he spoke with police as well, and that he supported what Jordan told law enforcement and what we believe actually was going on at the time.
I want to add, I really do like how she kind of interviews him almost like he's on the stand, in like from an attorney's perspective, and he's a witness. Some of her questions are pretty solid, I think. But let's just continue.
Has that fourth man and Jordan, have they spoken together since this tragedy unfolded?
I don't believe that they have.
And yet, it's your understanding that this fourth mystery person, whose name I hope will surface soon, his account of what happened that night is directly in correlation with Jordan's account.
Sure, and he's not a mystery person. He's one of the group of friends that they watch the game with. He's known to everybody. He's known to law enforcement. So he's not a mystery person. He's somebody there. And essentially, from my understanding, everything that he told the police is in line with what Jordan told the police, even though they were interviewed separately.
I'm so glad he's not a mystery person. What's his name?
I'm not going to provide his name. If and when he chooses to go public and say his name, then he can do that. He's not my client. I don't represent him. I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, I understand. Did your client ever leave the home from Sunday night and the football game until Tuesday when they discovered the bodies in his backyard? Did he ever leave and go outside the home?
No, I don't believe that he did. He's self-employed. He works out of his home. He stayed in the home the entire time from, the basic scenario is they had watched the Chiefs game in a couple of different places. They went back to his place, his home afterwards, to play some video games and hang out. And at some point during that process, he got tired and he fell asleep. Before he fell asleep, they were going to leave. He actually escorted them to the door, said their goodbyes, opened the door. He went back on the couch and he crashed. And then when he woke up, they were gone. And during the day and a half that occurred, 2 days, I guess, because the police came in around 10 o'clock on Tuesday to his house, he was doing the things that he normally does inside of his home, and that he was sleeping, he was eating, and he was working.
Can I back up? Yeah, can I back up for a moment there? Are you saying that your client, Jordan Willis, escorted the three victims to the door? He showed them to the door. Did they walk out the door?
It's not that formal, Ashley. He didn't escort them. They're his friends. Okay. They've been together all day. They're leaving the house. You know, they're guys. They shake hands. They hug. See you later, bro. Whatever they did. But he left them as they were leaving the home. It's not unusual for him and his friends to spend time in each other's homes. It's not unusual for them to hang out when the other person isn't there even. And in this case, he was there. So for whatever reason, They either came back in the home or they went directly to the backyard. That part, no one knows the answer to. Jordan believes they came back in the house and hung out for a while and continued to play video games. And at some point, they went outside in the backyard.
But to be clear, they left, those three men left the house. Jordan saw them leave the house.
He said goodbye to them. He laid down and he crashed, and they went out the front door. Yes.
They went out the front door. He witnessed them leaving the front door of his house.
Sure. Yeah. After he said goodbye to them, he was hanging out. He went back on the couch and he slept. So at some point, they decided to either come back inside the house and hang out for a while, or they went out on the backyard and hung out, which due to the cold temperatures, I don't believe that's the case. I think they probably came back inside and continued to play video games and hang out for a while before they left.
Can you just tell me if there's anything in the backyard of interest? Is there a fire pit? Is there something? Is there a barbecue? Is there something of interest in the backyard that would have drawn them to go there?
You know, I don't know what's in the backyard. I've never been to the house. What I know is what you know from these pictures here. It was a really cold night, so I doubt that anybody would be out there socializing. You know, typically when guys are hanging out or people are hanging out at the house, people will go outside randomly to smoke or do whatever, get some fresh air, and then come back in. Other than that, I can't speculate about what else was going on out there.
So fascinating. John Paserno, I hope you'll come back.
And then I also wanted to play this interview with you. I found it just more informative, just gives you more information. I guess I'll just ask you guys, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.